I took your sister on a college trip.
College trip,
right?
yeah.
We went on a college trip to St. Mary. So you know my daughter, right? Ileana.
Yeah.
So we took her on a little college trip. And it was really cool because I haven't been in this school since early 2000s or so. But my wife graduated from St. Mary.
Oh, nice.
So at the time, it was just St. Mary College. Mm-hmm. This was back in 94. And so now it's SMU, St. Mary University. So anyway, we did the visit. We sat in a class, and what do you call it? A criminology class, right?
That is
right word?
Class?
Yeah, we actually sat in a class. So we sat in and tried to give there was, I think, 5 students that went in to sit down and just to get a good feel of what a class would be like. I thought we were going to a class, but the teacher was kind of like on his break, so he gave the class, and he was an ex-police officer.
Mm.
Yeah. So it was funny. So he started off, he introduced himself. I can't remember his name, but then he goes, what do you think? He goes, what do you think before us police officers, before we get a phone call and we're sitting in our car or we're driving around, what do you think we're doing?
Just talking?
Paperwork.
And believe me, the first thing I thought was like the racial profiling. You're following people for no reason. I mean, I had all these things go
Looking
through
for suspects.
through my head, watching people come out of stores, it was just real mind boggling just sitting there. And I'm looking at this professor now. I was like, I'm not going to say anything. I can't, I'm not going to start off my day like this, So anyway, besides that, so he did a whole crime scene and something that he did back in 2005 in London. He was a part of a crime that he had to investigate and took us through the whole spiel and actually showed us picture of the victim. And he's asking us, so what would you do? What do you think our first thing was to do? Block off roads. It was a murder. It was a dinner party. Over $40. 2 guys were fighting over $40. One guy left the party. The other guy followed him to an apartment, confronted him there, shot him. It was just a mess. And so we're all
over $40?
Over $40,
That's crazy.
And there was 2 guys who were co-workers. They didn't know each other.
They didn't know each other, but they just so happened to. So it was an event.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, that's why people don't have parties. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Big Modcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Big Modcast. Marcos, will you do the honors, please?
Yes, with us today, our very special guest. You may have seen him most recently from his adventures on The Price is Right.
What? Yeah. Since when was he on The Price is Right?
I'm sorry, I got it completely wrong. The Wheel of Fortune. The Wheel of Fortune. I had the price. I had the price in right because I was watching Drew Carey earlier.
Oh man, you just made me say, oh,
I had the wrong show.
Really quick, I was like, oh my God, did I?
We can redo it. We'll redo it right now.
No, don't redo it. I think that was perfect.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, okay.
You're not the first person to make that mistake.
I think a lot of people actually get that wrong, like in terms of game shows.
Yeah. What game show were you on?
Yeah,
Price is Right. Oh, you got to come on down.
Yeah, you know what? The Price is Right was pretty cool back in the day. Back in the day when I used to watch it during the summer. I mean,
we're going too far off to it.
Yeah. All right. Mr. Rhodes, welcome to the show.
Hey, it's great to
I'm glad you're here.
Great to be here.
I'm glad you were able to make some time. I know we're on spring break right now, so you got a little bit of time.
I got some time.
Yeah.
That's the nice thing.
You ever done a podcast?
No, this is the first time.
Oh, yeah?
It's the first time. I wanted to start with the best,
Nice.
Much appreciated.
So,
sorry for the introduction.
Here I am. I was like, I heard this is the best podcast, best modcast ever.
there you go.
Here I am. I'm ready for it.
Hey, thank you so much. Where are you originally from?
Wichita, actually. I grew up in Wichita, Kansas. Graduated from Wichita North. And there's these weird parallels between Wichita and Shawnee Mission. Because, Wichita North just became the Red Hawks, but before that, they had a Native American mascot as well.
Wow.
So, when I started teaching at Shawnee Mission North, and it's also in Wichita North, the colors are red and white, and up here, red and black.
Yeah.
So, and even Wichita East, they're the Flying Aces, but they have that light blue color that Shawnee Mission East kind of has. So it was a weird, like,
you left, but you never really left.
Kind of. Well, and also Wichita North, one of the most diverse schools in the Wichita School District. Shawnee Mission North, one of the most diverse schools in the Shawnee Mission School District. So it felt very familiar, even though it wasn't in Wichita. So yeah, I grew up in Wichita. It was a good time.
Where'd you go to college?
K-State.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know if you're going to stay all Wichita all the way through until you left.
No, Wichita's a good sized city, right?
Is it? I wouldn't know.
You don't know?
I mean, from my experience in terms of Wichita is like the outer limits of Wichita, which was the college, just because we'd go there for state championships and whatnot.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I know that's the only part.
Yeah, it's the only part I know.
Mm-hmm. I would guess their population is probably about 500,000 now.
Damn.
So, and I think technically it's still the biggest city in Kansas.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's a city, and but at the same time, it was small enough that I felt like I knew Wichita, so I was ready to go somewhere else. And of my siblings, I actually went the farthest away because my oldest went to Wichita State. My older sister, but the middle child, she went to Southwestern, which is in Winfield, about an hour away from Wichita, south of Wichita. And I was like, I'll get 2 hours away. And went to K-State.
I'll outdo her by an extra hour.
Exactly.
So I think that's something. So from Wichita to Manhattan, 2 hours. Kansas City to Manhattan, 2 hours.
About 2 hours. Exactly. Which is nice because, some weekends I could go to Kansas City, some weekends down to Wichita. It was good.
Yeah. So, yeah, you know what? And that's one thing that, going back to the St. Mary thing, is they were telling the people that come in from there was a young girl from Austin, Texas that will be attending St. Mary's next year. And, they were telling her, we have Kansas City just down the road. And started telling her things to do, things to do here in town, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's true. And I guess mom never did come home unless I brought her home. But I mean, we were from the city, so, it was, but I thought it was pretty cool that, she mentioned Power and Light and just whatever is here in the city.
I mean, you gotta do what you can to attract more students. So there's some fun places for when you guys become of age and this and that.
Right? Yeah, because it's pretty boring. I think there in Leavenworth, but it's actually grown.
Oh yeah, it's for sure growing. Because back in 30 years ago when you guys would drive up there when mom was in college, it was just one road, was it not? It was just like
it seemed like it just it is a straight
shot of
K7, but
farmland.
Anyway, all right, we're getting off topic.
Yeah.
So, as high school, you said what was the name of your high school again?
Wichita North.
Wichita North. That's funny. Okay, Wichita North, Shawnee Mission.
Yeah, I just kept going north.
Yeah. What did you play any sports or clubs?
I did. So I like to try a lot of different things. The one thing I did all 4 years was baseball.
Nice.
So I love playing baseball. That was just kind of the sport I played growing up and really enjoyed that. Pitcher, outfielder. And I ended up coaching at Shawnee Mission North for, I think it was about 6 or 7 years. Okay. Those first 6 or 7 years.
I didn't know that.
Before I had kids.
Yeah. So you were a coach.
There you go.
Nice. That's cool.
And then I did a lot of other things then too. I swam for a year. I ran cross country my sophomore and junior year. And then what I tell people is I was kind of done, with the self-inflicted pain. I was going to let somebody else do it for me. So my senior year, for the first time ever, I went out for football. And it turned out I was good at it. And then I was just like, dang it. I
done this sooner.
All city honorable mention as a wide receiver. And it's like, why didn't I do this earlier? Right? What was I thinking?
So was there like maybe a growth spurt or something? So when you became a senior,
you just fast?
Bigger, stronger, faster.
That was the one thing when I was younger, I was always just fast. And so as a wide receiver, I could get open pretty easily and learned how to do kind of some of the moves pretty quickly as well. I catch on. I'm coachable.
Okay. Yeah. Do you remember your stats from high school?
Oh, I mean, not at all.
But you were honorable mention, though, right?
All city honorable mention.
Okay.
And again, our team wasn't very good. So, maybe they wanted to just get some people on.
Sure.
Honorable mention. I do
that's
remember,
an honor, though.
And this is
I'm sure you still have that clipping somewhere.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure my mom does somewhere. Like it's in a scrapbook. But I do remember some of the people I played against and played with. One person I played against, Cameron Wembley, he ended up going and playing for the Browns, the Cleveland Browns, but he played for Wichita Northwest and was like their quarterback, their punter.
Hey, their ace.
Did it all, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And the funny thing is, though, is like when you start playing football at the age that I did, one thing you do not know how to do well is tackle. But because I was athletic, they had me playing both ways. And so I played cornerback, and they would always tell us, cornerbacks, no run responsibility or very little run responsibility, maybe if they come your way. But, the linebackers, the safety should be taking care of that. Well, that is not how our team worked. Again, because we are not very good. And one time Cameron Wembley was running down the sideline, and I was like, oh, I'm just going to run and bump him out of bounds. I can do that. So I was running as fast as I could. I bumped him. I was like, yeah, took down Cameron Wembley, but no, he just kept running and scoring.
So you just bumped off of him.
Yeah, I think I just ricocheted off. So yeah. And then I played with Elbert Mack. And the weird thing about Elbert Mack is we just always called him Nook. He was a sophomore when I was a senior, and he was kind of undersized at the time, didn't really think much of it. He ended up going and playing quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys for several years. So it's weird to like hear about that later and be like, wait a second, I played with a guy who was in the NFL. So, and Wichita North, Barry Sanders High School.
Of course, yeah. He's the one that, did you know the Barry Sanders came out of there?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, actually, so back in my early adult life, I was playing men's fast pitch softball, and we would travel through the city, and we would go to Wichita. When we were in Wichita, we'd always see the high school. We played near there, and there was always that big sign, home of Barry Sanders. And
yep.
So it was cool to see. It was just cool to see.
And it's a if anybody ever looks up Wichita North, the building's just beautiful. Like it has this tower that when you're a senior, you get to go up into the tower and sign your name up there. And then it's right on the river. So one of the unique things about this school is for the PE class, you actually get to go canoeing.
Interesting.
On the river. That's
pretty cool.
That's a part of the PE class. One of the units is canoeing, where you get to go in there, which I wonder if they still do that. If that's like a liability thing now. I wonder if we had to sign any paperwork. Because it's a river. So like we could have ended up in the river and
down the river a couple miles away.
Down the river.
If you don't mind me asking, what year did you graduate high school?
2002.
2002. Okay. Nice. Did you do like any
20th then?
No, we did. Oh, and I should have gone back for it. I didn't.
Oh, you didn't?
Mm-hmm. You regret it?
A little bit, but at the same time, like it's tough with the age of the kids that we have now to leave them for a weekend and go back and you never know. Like some of my closest friends weren't going to be there. They're up in Oregon or up in other locations, and they weren't really going to go back. But then I saw some of the other guys who went back, and I was like, dang, I should have gone back. We had a guy from our year that got inducted into the Wichita North Hall of Fame. He makes documentaries up in Chicago and has some Emmy awards and whatnot. So he's a talented guy, Brian Schodorf. So shout out Brian.
That's cool.
He's a good dude.
So I can see in the near future, I think you will be in the Hall of Fame. You're not in there now.
Hall of Fame? The Wichita North Hall of Fame?
Yes.
Be like, hey, Wheel of Fortune winner.
That's what I'm saying.
That's when exactly he was in high school. All-City honorable mention wide receiver. Played 1 year.
Did you do any clubs up there?
Besides the sports stuff, I was a musical guy. Like I played in band. I played the French horn, and then in marching band, I played mellophone for 3 years. So freshman through junior year. And then my sophomore through senior year, I was actually in choir as well. And I sang in college a little bit also. Yeah. So not necessarily well, but I did.
No, I mean, you did. Yeah.
I was in an a cappella group before they were cool, before all those movies
all
came
the
out.
Pitch Perfect movies.
Yeah, no, it was this guys a cappella group where we sang like popular songs and whatnot, went to the sororities and had various events. But it was fun. So I was one of those guys who did sports, but also did musical stuff and was in some musicals, some plays while I was there. So it was fun. And in an earlier life, I did some performing in Kansas City before I had kids and community theater at the Barn Players and at Theater in the Park. So pretty crazy. I like to be a well-rounded guy. Not just sports, do music, do lots of things, and try to instill that in my kids too.
So that's where the innate ability to be on a microphone comes from.
Maybe so. One of my friends just said recently, as far as like my announcing stuff, he's like, that's what itches your scratches your performative itch. And I was like, yeah, I think it is. You just get on the microphone and in a way you become not necessarily me, but like announcer me. Of,
Yes.
Yeah.
of getting people hyped up.
Yeah, for those who don't know, Mr. Rose here is the main MC for a lot of the sporting events that happen at the Shawnee Mission North High School.
If you've ever been to a football or basketball games and a basketball game in the past, I don't know, 14 years,
Yeah,
it was probably me whose voice you heard. And I find out later when people go to KU baseball games, like they'll be like, yeah, I went to a KU baseball game. I was like, hey, I was probably there too. You were probably listening to my voice. So
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So, okay, yeah. Speaking of the voice thing, let me see if I can find something here real quick.
Your 2014 North Man is Mario Garcia.
And I'm gonna guess that was you back there, right?
Yeah.
When you did the announcement. That was a pretty cool moment, and
2014.
yeah. So thank you for announcing that.
No problem. You know, I'm disappointed in myself. I didn't give as much of a pause as I probably should have. That's one of my favorite moments. Homecoming in Northman, giving the pause before I announce the actual winner, because in that moment, everybody's waiting for you.
Yeah.
Everybody's waiting for you, and not just everybody's waiting for you,
Yeah,
but
all eyes on you.
The nominees are like, it could still be me. The hope is still there. And then I smashed most of their hopes.
It could have been a fun moment where you're getting ready to announce, and this year's Northman is, and you have these kids sitting there like, kind of make them all look at you.
Well, that's what they do at the football games. I wait long enough now that they're like, they'll start doing the drum roll thing
on the stand.
And I that looking around thing is what I do to the people in the press box, because nobody sees me there. At the basketball games, they see me down there, but in the press box, I'm just like
kind of looking
giving
around.
the cheesy smile to my
Like, wait for it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So speaking of Shawnee Mission North, how long have you been up at Shawnee Mission North?
I'm pretty sure this is my 15th year.
Really?
I'm pretty sure. I was trying to do the math recently, and I think it's my 15th year. I graduated December of 2006 from K-State. I taught a semester, which would have been 2007 then, in Wichita Southeast.
Okay.
But I already had my job up here and knew I was coming up here after that. So that would have been the 07, 08 school year. So whatever school year we're on now, 22, 23.
So
that would be 15 years. It's my 15th year.
So as long as you've been here, you've been at the same high school.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Hopefully you can retire from there.
Maybe so.
Yeah.
Maybe so.
That'd be cool. So did you have any of my kids? Do you remember having my kids?
Yeah, I had Mario and I had Christian. So both of those two
You had
I
me.
had in class. Did I have you?
You did sophomore year.
Oh man.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he was never in there. Maybe we're finding something out. You weren't like me in the gym all the time, were you?
You know, I feel like you're maybe just quieter, probably sophomore year.
No,
do you feel like you were as, I don't know.
I think he was just this little slender guy with no facial hair and the short hair. Maybe you just don't remember. Maybe you just don't remember him.
Well, the weird thing is too with teaching. Every time I see like a former student, I was like, oh, I just had them in class. It wasn't that long ago. And then they'll tell me like, hey, Mr. Rose, I'm 30. I'm like, what?
Yeah, that's almost how it is with Mario. He's almost 30.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, how is that possible? So yeah, I guess.
Yeah, it was sophomore year.
Yeah, okay. That's awesome.
I guess you could say I was a little more quieter then. I mean,
You were pretty.
I was, but I mean, it depends on what you mean by that. It's like in terms of talking out in class, like, I mean, I was in class, but I mean, I was all around doing everything at North pretty much.
Yeah, you were very involved.
It's actually a hilarious story. I don't remember if it was you doing the announcement, but there was one football game where I'm in for a play. I make a play, and they go tackle on the field by number 24, Mario Garcia. So
what?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think that was
I don't know
me.
if it was you.
Yeah,
or-
I don't know.
There was a football game where they had said my brother's name.
Because I think, and I believe when that happened, Mario was sitting in there. He says, yes, yes, I made the tackle. I'm like, way to go, son. Shit,
that very well could have been me.
I don't remember. I don't remember the home game or an away game.
I thought this was going to be a situation because sometimes students will be like, "Why'd you say that name?" And
oh, really?
Because I have the roster with foot. I'm not looking at your faces,
right?
Like,
You're looking
right.
at numbers and what you may have think what may have been the number of the kid.
So if the coach doesn't change the numbers on the roster, like it's who I think.
Right, it's not your fault. You're going by what you read.
I called a bench warmer one time, and somebody was like, "Why did you call him?" I was like, "Because it was the number. Maybe he got in."
Right?
Got a lucky.
It's kind of like the teleprompter thing. People just read what they're supposed to read. And
exactly.
If they mess up, they mess up.
That's what it told me, so that's what I read. No, but that still goes down as like a hilarious memory for me and my brother. So that's funny.
That's awesome. I know I said your name a lot though.
Yeah,
in your playing career for sure. You were involved enough. That yeah.
So you're an English teacher, right?
Yes, English teacher. Might be a regrettable decision, but I could have been a PE teacher, right? It could have made my life a little bit easier. But no, I mean, I chose English with purpose.
Okay,
for sure. It's one of those things where, I was just saying to my wife, language is one of those things that connects our human experience together. Like it's one of those pieces because language is just thoughts put into words. One of the first things I usually start my class with is, do we think in a language? And we kind of write about that, have a discussion about that of whether or not when you're thinking, if that's in a language or not. I see Chris looking at me. I think
I remember that.
You remember that?
I remember that assignment.
Yeah. And I'm going to let students come up with whatever they think about that. But I tell them that my perspective is that our thoughts, our emotions, those are not really in words. Language kind of puts those, gives those definition. Like we are able to communicate those thoughts and feelings through language. And the whole purpose of that is really to communicate some of this human experience that we're all going through. And so, it's that's kind of the core of what it means besides just communicating. It's sharing our human experience through language. And obviously because of where we are, that's English, but it can be through other languages. And that's, I really value those students who are bilingual or multilingual in class because I bring up the situation of I'm guessing those who are bilingual or multilingual probably have had certain words in one language that don't translate to another language.
Right.
And does that mean that thought doesn't exist in the other language? Does that mean that feeling doesn't exist? And it's no, that's not the case. It's just, there's no word for it there. But there is one in the other language. And also my argument for students for why they should continue to expand their vocabulary, because you can more accurately than depict and communicate your thoughts and feelings when you have more tools in your toolbox to do so. So,
Chris, let me blow your mind real quick. Whoa. If you're born deaf, what language do you think in?
I don't know.
Yeah, think about that. Why don't you? Do they think in hand signs? Ooh, I could be an English teacher.
No, you couldn't.
We discussed that. We discussed
did it
that
come
in
up?
class.
Yeah.
So, well, that and infants, before you have language, does that mean they're not thinking? And that's not true. And I think that also humanizes everybody a little bit, because even those, I grew up when I was in Wichita. One of my first jobs was I worked a summer camp for kids with intellectual and physical disabilities. And some of those I would even say, because I was the same age of them, even though I was their counselor at the camp, I would say we kind of grew a friendship there. And you would think, well, how do you grow a friendship with, people who are of different with intellectual abilities? But you start to recognize sometimes they just don't have the language. They still have their own human experience, and you can see some depth to them, even if they communicate it in different ways.
Right.
So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, we know exactly like that, because my aunt, his sister, she has kids with autism, and they both express themselves in different ways.
Yeah.
So
and you recognize there's still complexity there. There's a lot of complexity there.
Oh, for sure. Mm-hmm.
Do you find yourself talking a lot with your hands?
Do I talk a lot with my hands?
Yeah. It was a subject that we talked about one day, and I do a lot.
Okay. No, I think maybe teaching wise.
Teaching,
my expression.
Yeah, that's what throws the expression out there.
You got to keep their attention, so you got to throw a little flair in there.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to smack them a little bit.
Sometimes bang on the desk if they're sleeping.
any hobbies? Do you do any hobbies? Would you consider that speaking for KU and the announcing for KU? And
I would. There's kind of a skill set and art where I feel like I'm always trying to improve in my public address announcing. I'm in a Facebook public address announcing group, where there are professionals who announce for major league teams, all the way down to people who are just doing it for their kids' baseball games. And we're all kind of in the same group talking about that as our hobby, the things that we enjoy about it, ways to get better, common things that we experience. And so, yeah, absolutely. I'd consider that a hobby. And luckily enough, and as people do, I'm able to get paid for my hobby.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. So,
and so you do the baseball
and women's soccer. University of Kansas. Yeah.
And that's cool. Yeah.
And that was.
Did you apply for that, or
they had an audition? They had an audition, and that was back in 2014. And I saw somebody post about it on Facebook, and I was like, I should try to do this. And so I drove out there. It was the year that Rock Chalk Park opened. Don't know if you've ever been there, but that's where they host KU relays now. That's their new track. The track's there, the soccer field's there.
So just
and
a multi-complex?
fields. Yeah, yeah. And it's real nice out on the west side of Lawrence. So we went out there, and there were like 50 people out there to audition. Once I saw how many people that were out there, I was like, maybe not. I don't know that I'm good enough for this. But I was like, no, you drove all the way out here.
Right.
You got to at least, shoot your shot.
Yeah.
And so I did, and I felt pretty good about it. I tried to prepare as much as possible. But then I didn't hear anything for a little while, but sure enough, one of the marketing guys, Carlos, he gave me a call, and he's like, congratulations. If you're available, we want you to be our women's soccer announcer. And I was like, nice. And then after that, as I was announcing that first season, they had auditions for women's basketball. And so, full disclosure, I had never actually been in Allen Fieldhouse before, but the first time I ever went into Allen Fieldhouse, I got to announce over the speakers and do my audition in there for women's basketball. And I think there was a soccer game later that evening, and I went and showed up, and I had already gotten the email that day that said, thank you for coming out and auditioning. Unfortunately, we went a different way, or somebody else got it, but we appreciate your time. And so I showed up there, a little bit like, well, at least I got this soccer thing. And the same guy, Carlos, goes, congratulations. And I was like, for what? He's like, you're our new baseball announcer. He's like, well, we're going to take you out there and still kind of audition and make sure everything's all right with your voice over the baseball speakers. But, if you're willing to do it, I was like, and again, that's the sport I played in high school. So I love baseball. So I was like, all right, let's go. So
oh, wow. That's pretty awesome.
That's kind of how those things worked out. And here I am. This is my 9th season of baseball.
Wow.
So it's weird to think that, I will have been out there for almost a decade now as the voice of baseball and women's soccer.
Okay. So, but speaking of weird, do you wear the KU colors? And
I do. Well, and that's the thing is for a while, they never asked me where I went to college. And so I don't even think they knew that I was a K-State grad. And then eventually, Carlos friended me on Facebook and saw a picture of me with my oldest daughter. But at the time, she had this little K-State shirt on. And he kind of started putting it together. He's like, oh, you went to K-State. You're a K-Stater. And
he's like, oh, we're going to have to let you go.
Well, that's what I was worried. I was like, so I tried to play it off like, I'm just a good old Kansas boy. I was born and raised in Kansas. And that part's true. I am born and raised in Kansas, and now I've worked for them longer than I went to K-State. So I feel very conflicted. And I definitely, when I was on Wheel of Fortune, I mentioned working for KU and even said Rock Chalk.
To cheer on.
Yeah. And I say Rock Chalk a lot,
Yeah.
My younger self would be so surprised because when I went to K-State, you play into that rivalry.
Right.
Stuff.
Yeah. All the people who knew you went to K-State are like, this traitor.
Yeah. Look at him. I got some texts. For sure. And I get it. Like, again, my younger self just really played into the rivalry, but now I mean, I watch KU games and I look on the sideline. I'm like, hey, there's my buddy I work with in this other sport. Cause they work several sports a lot of times there. I'm like, there's so-and-so, there's so-and-so on the sidelines working. So it's hard when you spend that much time with them, especially on baseball games, which can get pretty long. And
now it's business, right?
It's business and it's personal now.
Yeah.
It's like I feel a personal connection to KU where with the time and the people that I've met there, I can't disconnect and the experiences I've had announcing for those games, I can't disconnect myself from that.
Yeah. No, that's cool. That'd be awesome to do. That's something I don't know if I have the voice to do that, but sometimes I feel like I do. Sometimes I'm one of those guys, if I'm at an event and if there's a microphone, I'm going to hold that microphone and I'm going to talk into it.
Yeah.
So that's why I like doing what I'm doing now.
Absolutely.
Especially with these guys. It's pretty fun to do. But yeah, so, I'm sure everybody out there is that's watching and listening saying, man, he's bringing up Wheel of Fortune. Let's talk.
When's that
let's talk about Wheel of Fortune here.
Marco said earlier he was talking about Price is Right?
Yeah.
And people have made that mistake. I'm going to be completely honest. I've made the mistake a couple of times being in Kansas City for as long as I have. And I'm a big roller coaster fan, talking about hobbies as well. I love roller coasters. There are a couple of times when I'm in my mind, I'm thinking Wheel of Fortune, but you know what I say instead?
Worlds of Fun.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's crazy because
how does that happen?
Because
WOF.
Yes.
Yeah, WOF. When I think WOF, I think Worlds of Fun.
It's funny you say this because as I'm sitting here writing notes, I have WOF and I gotta keep reminding myself. Wheel of Fortune. Wheel of Fortune. It's
not
funny
Worlds
you
of
say
Fun.
that. So I guess it's a
Kansas
common
City
thing.
people's
It's a
minds
Kansas
are
City
wired
thing.
that way.
Yeah. Do you have good memories of Wheel of Fortune? Real quick.
Do I have good memories?
Yeah, Wheel of Fortune. See, there I get, and then I just turn it around.
time.
I'm at Worlds of Fun.
Man.
growing up watching Wheel of Fortune.
No, yeah, Worlds of Fun.
Oh, absolutely. I have lots of good memories. Worlds of Fun growing up, and again being from Wichita, that's a location you go to actually drive to.
Okay, yeah.
So I throughout the years.
So do you remember making that drive? And as soon as you get close to Worlds of Fun, you see that what is that water tower or whatever it was? Do you remember?
Oh yeah, that looks like the hot air balloon.
Yeah, and it had the colors of Worlds.
I remember the dolphin show. I remember
dolphins.
They had dolphins.
Yeah, and then they eventually had to move them over to the other side to Oceans of Fun.
The
you always
so
had
you
that
know
look
where
like, what?
Spinning Dragons is, right? And the fountain
Yeah.
of Spinning Dragons, that water from the fountain, that circle was the pool for the dolphins.
Man, I haven't been there in a while.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna have to go back and
Go
look
back.
At it.
I'm
Look at
remembering it's in the Chinese or Asian section of the
District.
park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, go back there and look at where Spinning Dragons is, and the queue for Spinning Dragons kind of goes around that water feature, but that's where the seating would have been for the dolphin show. So that's one of my favorite animals is dolphins, and part of it is because of that. And now I feel bad about it because I'm like, that probably wasn't good for the dolphins.
No, I mean, look, because that's a small kind of area. Now that I think about it, so imagining the whole performance out of dolphins.
Yeah, there were
small.
two dolphins there.
Back
but
then,
yeah.
for us, it looked huge. You go back now and you say, "Oh, well, that is really small."
Well, and they had the steamboats and stuff there too from like movies. I think Hello Dolly's steamboat. I don't even know if Hello Dolly has a steamboat, but they had these steamboats there, and the Zambezi Zinger, which is coming back this year. So
is it really? That was one of my favorite rides back in the day.
Well, and what's interesting is it's going to be wooden though, but they're still going to have the spiral lift. You know how that was kind of a distinctive feature of the Zambezi Zinger is it didn't have the ticket like the straight lift. You went around in this circle before you went down, and there were no seat belts. You sat bobsled style, one in front of the other.
Right.
So the girl you like, you made sure to be like, hey,
Yep,
let's
definitely.
get together. But no seat belts. You sat bobsled style, and then at the end there's this tunnel. So they're bringing back the tunnel too.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
They are building a couple new rides. I know that. Like there's like another one out by like the Prowler out there. They're building up a couple new.
Yeah. Zambezi Zinger. That's going to be
Zambezi
the big
Zinger.
one.
I'll have to look up.
Zambezi Zinger. Yeah, I remember that.
But back to Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah, back to the WOF.
The other
Let's go back to
WOF.
the So what was it like getting that call? Or was it a call or was it an email or how?
It was an email.
It was an email.
Well, how did that even? Did you audition? Did
Yeah.
you sign up?
So, I mean, much like the public address announcing, I saw an advertisement on on Facebook for WWE Wheel of Fortune week. And I'm a professional wrestling fan too.
Right,
Like
yeah.
I grew up watching those shows. And I was like, man, I'm a professional wrestling fan and an English teacher. I might be a good contestant for this. So I kind of started thinking in my, like, formulating, if I made a video for an application, like, because it could only be a minute long, if I made a video, what would that look like? And I kind of came up with some ideas. And, you know, Baron Corbin, who wrestles for the WWE, is a Shawnee Mission North grad. So I made sure to mention that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, shout out. No, nice. I
Yeah.
didn't know
Baron
that.
I think his real name is Tom Pestock. But if you ask Miss Cormack about, they graduated together. So yeah, I mean, something,
cool.
something to that I threw out there as like a connection. So I was like, yeah, I can bring us some interesting things. And in my audition video or my application video, I also mentioned how Shakespeare, when it was originally performed, much more like professional wrestling than the way Shakespeare is often performed now. Because they had the groundlings that would stand up next to the stage. And when the good guys would come out, they'd cheer them. The bad guys, they'd boo them. And that's kind of professional wrestling, right? Like
Yeah.
it's participatory. So I mentioned those things in my application video, and I was kind of embarrassed because I had to ask my wife to film it. And I was like, Victoria, so I think I'm going to apply for Wheel of Fortune. Would you mind recording my video? And so she did it. And we did 2 takes. Both of them were pretty good, but we decided to just keep the second, send it in along with, oh man, I feel like I had to answer so many questions about different things and try to think of creative ways to respond to those questions. Responded that was on November 30th. And then a couple weeks later, I got an email that said, hey, we want to do a quick 5-minute interview with you. And so, you know, sign up on this Sign Up Genius. So Wheel of Fortune uses Sign Up Genius. Okay. But there were like hundreds of names on there, hundreds of spots for these interviews. I was like, ooh, I mean, I still got to get pretty lucky to get beyond this. Did that 5-minute interview, which is on Zoom, by the way. So in my classroom on Zoom is when I did that.
It was, I'd imagine, be like one of those kind of like, it's a spur of the moment. This is your one opportunity. So like you get an email in class, like, all right, everybody shut up, quiet. I got to do this real quick.
Well, I got to choose a time, and they're on Pacific time. So, you know, I got, they're a couple hours earlier. So 2:00 to them is 4 for us, right?
So everybody's gone.
Yeah,
It's just
exactly.
me.
Clear out the classroom, lock the door, make sure nobody comes in here. And that's when I did my little 5-minute interview. And when I did, they said, all right, well, we want to do one of our hour-long auditions, and we want to get you signed up for that. And
Hour-long audition?
yeah,
Dang.
yeah, it didn't end up actually being an hour, but they said, you know, we have an open spot for Friday, and this is Friday, December 16th, which is also a day that was the first home basketball game was that day. We have one spot open for this 2:00 time for Friday. And then after that, we're going on break. And so it would be January before we'd have another audition spot. Regardless, they wanted me to audition. And so you didn't really do any puzzles until the audition. And I asked her, I was like, you know, is there any benefit to going Friday versus, you know, in January? And she's like, well, you know, we fill in spots for contestants as we audition them. And so, but they also said that that's kind of like our Friday to a Monday. We're just going on break. So you could audition in January and it would be fine. And in my mind, I was thinking, you know, that could give me more time to prepare doing some puzzles, because you kind of have to be in like a puzzle mindset to do some of that.
Right.
At the same time, I was like, if I want the best chance of making the show, I should maybe go on Friday, because they might fill, whoever else auditions on Friday, they might fill that spot with somebody else. Right. So I went ahead and did it on Friday, taught all day. Then after teaching, did that audition, and then announced the basketball game right after that. Went right to the basketball games and announced those. So that audition, you go and there are other people zooming in from other parts of the country, and you do some toss-up puzzles. And so you buzz in like with a pretend buzzer and have to guess some of the toss-up puzzles. And I got one of them. One time I buzzed in, and I was like really confident. And sometimes when you know the puzzle and you haven't heard anybody else buzz in, it's like, I'm going to get this. And so I real confidently said, Washington, Mount Rushmore National Landmark. And with what was shown up there on the puzzle, that could have been right, but it was wrong. She's like, oh, sorry. And I was like, but it was Mount Rushmore National Monument was the correct answer. But I did get another one. I don't remember what it was. It was like George Washington Monument, or I don't know, probably was another monument one, but it was something like that. And then after that, they put you in a breakout room and they interview you again. But then also in the breakout room, you do a puzzle test where they show you these puzzles and they have certain letters filled in. And
oh God, that's too many puzzles. Just put me on American Gladiator. I'll go do a physical show.
Good with American
I'll do that. I'll do like the freaking like the obstacle courses, but the puzzles, that's just too much. I can maybe do a couple puzzles, but
and those puzzles were hard. I was just hoping to get half of them right. So you had 90 seconds to do 4 puzzles with the same category, and then they moved on to the next. But they also said they wanted you to talk through the puzzles, like say what you're thinking out loud. And another one I remember was TV shows, which
good at that.
I don't watch a lot of TV. And there was one that had so many E's, like E was one of the letters that was put up there. And I was like, why does this thing have so many E's in it? And that's what I was saying out loud. And the time was running down. I was like, what show could this be that has so many E's? And then I was like, the Ellen DeGeneres Show. Like I figured it out.
Okay.
In that process, I figued it out. So, I followed those directions, and I think that probably helped my chances.
I think they liked it because they want to see, not just like I don't want to say they don't want someone not smart. I mean, they obviously want people who can have higher potential solving puzzles, but they want to see some personality and character out of it.
Exactly. And that's exactly it. I think people who can follow those directions, which they gave when they sent out, like, okay, here's your Zoom link for the audition. Here are some things we're looking for, maybe dress looking like this. And so you follow those directions, and it worked out for me. So,
yeah. So you would watch Wheel of Fortune. So do you watch Wheel of Fortune a lot before you did this?
I mean,
were you that guy who sits there in front and just can knock off the answers? I mean,
not really.
No?
I mean, sometimes they get some people on there that are really good, that are ringers, where when I actually became a contestant, that's what I was looking for. I was like, man, am I going to be on a show with a ringer who has 2 letters up there and knows it? Like,
right.
Oh, it's this.
Our returning champ from the past month.
Because I think there was a show on Netflix there was a guy this is back in late 70s, early 80s, who figured out The Price is Right. Until he was at like every show, he knew the pattern, and then he knew when like everything would recycle, I guess, so he figured it out. So he became a contestant and won everything. And then they figured out, man, this guy not necessarily was a genius,
he
studied the
I remember,
pattern.
I know what you're talking about, because that's back when it was like you do the button, you'd have to stop it on a certain category or something.
Press your luck.
Yeah, something like that. You had to stop it on a certain point, and he just memorized it because, with
no whammies.
Yeah, it's a little harder with Wheel of Fortune because you guys got to know your letters. There's not necessarily any way to cheat. I bet someone could figure out a way to cheat, but
but let me tell you, that is because of situations like that. Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? I don't know if you knew this, and I don't know if it was the American version or the British version. They had somebody in the audience that would cough a certain number of coughs.
I've seen
to
that.
Get the right answer. And then of course there's the quiz show controversy. Like they made that movie Quiz Show about how people had found a way to cheat with that. And so one of the things when you're a contestant is they show you a video from their lawyer saying, here's why you're signing these documents, and here's you saying you won't cheat. To the extent that, like, if they even think you're aiming the wheel, like if you've figured out the wheel,
like a slider push, or like you don't give a full,
or right, they think you're trying to aim for a certain space. They'll be like,
shit, I would try that. That's the first thing I'm going to try
to go for the freaking jackpot every time.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Well, the tricky thing with that though is when you're there in the moment, you're thinking about so many things and thinking about the puzzle that I did not think about the wheel too much. And even from the angle that you're looking at the wheel, the edge of it's far enough away that it's
a big wheel, isn't it? It's a big wheel.
It's fairly big. I mean, not as big as like maybe what you think, but it has these spokes on it that you're pushing, and it's far enough away on the other side that you can't really see those spots, and it's kind of in the shadows to you.
All you're worried about is not bankrupting. That's it. Pretty much.
Yes,
Don't bankrupt.
Don't want to bankrupt. And one time I got to lose a turn, and it was on the puzzle that I knew the puzzle too, but I was like, I don't know how far you want to get into it because we're jumping around all over the place.
Yeah, we can.
Great about this. But the second puzzle, right? The lady before me, Whitney, who's a very nice lady, And she got some stuff online about this, but it was On the Map was the category. And she had figured out most of the letters, done a great job, but it was international date line. And I knew that. She said international gate line. So I wasn't even expecting to have a turn. And then the turn came to me. I don't have any money. So I knew I was going to get the minimum, which was $1,000. Or what was out there. One of the things when you're going through contestant, camp is what I call it. You're getting prepped as a contestant. Once you get your show, they tell you what one of the prize spaces on the wheel is. And for us, it was this trip to Italy. And of all the places I've ever wanted to go in Europe, Italy is it. And this was like a dream trip. Rome, Venice, Florence, like everything worth $9,000.
Dang.
And I didn't have any money again.
Yeah.
So I knew if I solved it, I'd get the minimum, but I knew that trip was out there. I was like, I'm going to spend for it. This is my shot. I'm going to go for it. And later on, I think because people will be like, man, he's so stupid. Why'd he spend? Because I was 2 spots away from the trip. But you know what 2 spots away was? Lose a turn. And that's what I landed on. And so I never got to even show that I knew it.
Yeah.
And then Jenny next to me, she seemed hesitant about everything. She spun too. And then she guessed a letter and she's like, D? Like, I'm not sure if I actually know this. And then just read up international date line. And so sometimes people are like, why are these Wheel of Fortune people, like, they're not even very good at these puzzles. And it's like, well, wait a second here. Like, you got a lot of decisions that you're trying to make when you're at home, watching the show. The contestant's making all the decisions. You're just looking at the puzzle. But as a contestant, it's like, do I spend? Do I solve? Do I buy a vowel? If I spend, what's going to happen here? Do I know this well enough? Or could there be a situation where I think I know it, like Mount Rushmore National Landmark, and it ends up being monument. So, and you know what? Same thing happened to me with one of
There's
my.
a time limit, isn't there? Like when you're guessing the words?
There's a time limit for everything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And it depends on what you're doing for what that time limit is. But so you have to make a decision whether to spend, solve. And so you do always feel that pressing for time. And when you're watching it on TV, like it seems like they're going right into the spin or making their decisions so quickly. And I think some of that might be editing, but they really do press that of like, yep, make your decisions quick, kind of know what you're going to do, be looking at the puzzle board to try and figure it out. But
no, for sure. Cause like, I mean, it's TV. So, there's entertainment value that has to be mixed in with it. So obviously like you guys are there and we're there. Cause I've done commercials, but I've been on a TV set like back in 2017, American Ninja Warrior had came to Kansas City. And we got and we had gone to, it was like me, Spencer, Danny, and Will. We had gone early. We went early in the morning to go to the show at like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
It was
they film it real early.
Yeah,
in the morning.
It was like 2 a.m. on like
Out
a
at
Wednesday.
Union Station.
Yeah. But the thing is, we get there and we're in the stands waiting for everything to start. And then one of the producers comes out. He goes, all right, everybody act like someone just fell in the water. And everybody goes, oh, all right, now act like he made it. So it's like, yeah. Like, so it's a lot of B-roll stuff that they don't even show during.
They edit it together.
And it's hilarious. I don't know if like you guys had to go through that because it's just live audience, isn't it?
They had the live audience there. But there wasn't as much of that. There were a couple of things, not in our show, but there in some of the other shows that they had to reshoot. There was a guy who was a Santa's helper, but had the gray beard and everything. But they had to reshoot what he said he was because they didn't want to give up too much for those that might have been watching at home, kids who might have been watching at home.
So they pause, let them do their little thing, and then get back to the game. Yeah.
Well, and that was the thing. He said something, and then they came back, and one of the producers kind of signaled, and it's like, Greg, let's have you say it this way. And so he ended up saying, I've been helping Santa for 25 years instead of whatever he had said before. Yeah. So there's a little bit of that, maybe not as much. Wheel of Fortune, a lot of it they do kind of at the same rate of the show itself, so it flies by once they're actually filming.
Now, where do they film? Out where?
Culver City, California. So it's in LA, basically, but Culver City is what that little area is called.
Well, what was it like being on the set?
Surreal.
Yeah.
Very surreal. So your day actually starts, again, what I call contestant camp at like 7 a.m, and they do a lot of contestant preparation. And where you start that contestant preparation is on the Jeopardy stage. which is right next door to the Wheel of Fortune.
I was gonna ask if you get to see the other game show sets and.
Well, those are the only two I think that film there.
Oh, okay.
But I love Jeopardy too. So to like be where Jeopardy films, like that was the first thing of my day. And you know,
So can I get on this show? Can I be on this show?
I've taken the test. It's hard, but
Yeah.
But just being there is like, man, this is the Jeopardy stage. And then as you're going through preparations throughout the day, they're like, all right, we're going to head over to the Wheel of Fortune stage and do some practice spins. And, you know, they adjust the levels of your, what you stand on. Cause on TV, it looks like everybody's kind of the same height, but it's because they've moved their platforms up or down.
Interesting.
So you can get somebody
that way.
that's 7 foot
and bring
and
them
then
down.
break them down to somebody that's
Exactly.
5'9", and everybody looks the same height.
Well, next time you're watching the show, I don't know how often you guys watch.
Well, now I'm gonna have to pay attention.
Yeah. At the very end where Pat goes and congratulates each of them, see whether or not he has to step up or step down. Cause we had
Get
to be
on their
careful,
level?
kind of like, we had to be careful as we were walking around back there for what level we were on. But when we went over there and finally saw the studio we were going to be in, it was like, wow, this is it. This is where it happens. And you see the puzzle board on one end and you see the wheel on the other end. And it's weird to watch the show now because that stage and that
I was
studio,
there. I was staying right there.
Well,
That was me.
not just that. I was there for a couple of hours because when we were doing those practice spins, the contestants are just standing on the stage. So it's weird to see it and be like, yeah, I stood there for probably like 30, 45 minutes in that spot, right? Like in the middle of the stage. And then the other cool thing is like when we were doing those practice spins, the wheel kind of like rumbles, kind of has this echo. I would equate it to, you know, when you listen to your favorite music, but then you hear them live, like you hear all the different intricacies. Like it just sounds real good live.
Yeah.
Same thing with the wheel. Like it sounds like the wheel, but it also has this kind of deeper rumble to it too. So it's just like you hear it and it's like I don't know. It kind of purrs at you.
That's cool. Were you able to do any selfies or take some photos? Or did they ask you, "Oh, please keep your phones"?
You know what's weird? It's in the rules that we're supposed to have our phones put away. No phones, no smartwatches, I think is in the rules, but they never told us at what time. So I took a selfie in the Jeopardy studio.
Okay.
Yeah, I would tue. I mean, I would be center stage just with behind you.
But all of us were like, is this okay? Like, are we allowed to do this right now? And it was early enough in the day that, I mean, nobody said anything to me, but after taking the selfie in the Jeopardy studio, I never really took any more pictures because I was worried I'd get in trouble and they'd be like, sorry, you can't be on the show. Cause they have 3 alternates that are there besides, cause they film 6 shows in a day.
Yeah.
So there are 18 of us there, but then there are also actually 21 cause there are 3 alternates in case any situations arise. And I didn't want to be a situation
Right. Yeah.
where that happened. Like I wanted my chance to.
I wouldn't even want to be an alternate. You know, I want to be on the show.
Exactly.
You know? So
Well, the thing with those alternates, though, they're usually local. They're the LA people, so they're not going to. Well, they don't fly people in, but they're not going to have somebody travel to be an alternate. So they're local or kind of in that area to come in for the day. But they're also still guaranteed to get on the show at some point.
Oh, okay.
So I think they bring them in for an alternate one day, and then they put them in kind of
in a rotation,
show later
right?
on. Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Right, that's part of the TV magic is the recurring. They get like you said, like 6 episodes done in like a single shoot, and span it over the entire time.
They only film like 4 times a month. It's pretty good gig.
Yeah, for sure.
And it is a long day for a lot of them, but they film twice every 2 weeks or something like that. So
that was filmed the 13th of January, right?
Friday the 13th.
That was a Friday too.
Man,
That's right.
I like that.
Oh, and so to kind of, man, I get excited talking about this.
that's
I'm all over
why.
the
Yeah,
place.
that's all good.
So after the audition, they told me like, we're going on break, so you won't hear from us until January. If you hear from us at all, and if you don't hear from us, you can apply again in about a year.
Oh, damn.
But
Man.
yeah, you apply once a year is kind of the thing you can do.
Like even if you don't make it.
Yeah, if you don't make it, you can get up to the audition and still reapply. And a lot of people do.
Oh, okay. If you make it, then you got to wait a year. I was about to say
No. If you make it, you can never be on Wheel of Fortune again.
What? Really?
Yeah, Wheel of Fortune's a one and done. And actually, part of their paperwork is you've never been on Wheel of Fortune before in any version, teen version, daytime version, Wheel 2000, like you have to have.
There's a teen version of Wheel of Fortune?
Yeah, Teen Week was a couple of weeks before our week. It was a themed week, but they're just basically saying like if you were on Wheel of Fortune as a contestant, you cannot be a contestant again. It's a literal once in a lifetime opportunity.
Somebody will cheat the system. Somebody will come in with a different name. I'm gonna change my name because I want to go back.
Well, I don't know about that because another thing I had to do was I had to find my social security card.
Wow.
Which I hadn't seen my actual physical social security card in a while.
Card? Wow.
Yeah, they make you show your
they
physical.
fingerprinted you. They said
So you had to call home. I have your card right here next to your stats of football. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's really disappointing. I didn't know you couldn't return. They let Jeopardy people return.
I know Jeopardy
family
is different.
Feuds have returned.
They've returned, but Wheel of Fortune's one where it's one and done. It's that's part of the Wheel of Fortune of life is you get this one shot.
That's good to know.
So anyway,
so we have a shot. Maybe one day we can go on the show.
Yeah.
We'll get some notes. We can, Mr. Rose here can coach us.
Honestly, apply, follow the rules. Hey, you guys have enough personality. Absolutely, you could get on Wheel of Fortune. I mean, if I can, I know I don't feel like I'm special enough to be to have gotten on there. But so back at that audition, right? She told me that the one thing where I was like, this might be a good sign is she said to me, so I know you're a teacher, and let's say you do get on Wheel of Fortune. How much notice would you need before getting on the show? Like a week, 2 weeks? And I said, yeah, I mean, sub plans, they're got to be able to come up with those. So 2 weeks would be nice. But if you told me 1 week, it's Wheel of Fortune, I'm going to find a way to get there. So,
right. Yeah.
And that might've been it because, sure enough, the first day we had students back and that was, it kind of killed me over the break because you don't know that you could never hear from them again at that point. And yet I was kind of like buying these Wheel of Fortune books to like practice doing the puzzles just in case. But then the first day we had students, that's when I got the email, like, and it was an email of like, congratulations, you have a taping date for Friday the 13th. Let us know as soon as possible if you can make it. So once I got that email, I called my mom. I was like, Mom, I need somebody to watch the kids. And she's retired. So thankfully she was able to come up at that point. But that's how it happened. And that's how quick it was. I had to figure out flights and hotel.
So just you and your wife had gone.
All in a week. Yeah.
And this is something that came out of your pocket. You have to pay for all
you
that,
have to
right?
pay for your way to get there. So
you're like
Spirit Airlines for the first time.
Okay.
Because with that short of notice, that was the cheapest way to go. But the thought is like, you're going to win at least $1,000. Like that's the minimum. If you don't win anything, you go away with $1,000 minus taxes. And so you're hoping to kind of break even at least in being on the show.
Break even as far as taking care of your flight and hotel. And
get your 22 minutes of fame in.
Exactly. So
that's awesome.
What was it like meeting the host of the show?
Surreal. I mean,
what's his name?
It's Pat Sajak. Pat Sajak and Vanna White.
No, I'm not talking about us two. I'm talking Pat Sajak and Vanna White.
Surreal because they've done it for so long.
Yeah.
Like as long as I have existed in the world, they have been the hosts.
Yeah. This is actually their 40th year.
Yeah.
Yeah. It started in 83.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? And so meeting them, like I had Nintendo games that had Vanna White on them, and Vanna White's kind of a cultural icon. Like you say the name Vanna White, everybody knows who that is.
Chris, you know who that is?
No.
Yeah. Okay.
Never mind.
Oh, Chris. That's funny.
But no, I had seen them for long enough. And especially I would say Vanna White was maybe bigger in like the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
As I was growing up.
She was fun to look at back in the 80s and 90s. I don't know if
she was the it girl.
Right. Vanna White. Everybody wants to meet. I mean, this lady can turn a letter like no other. Right?
Not a joke. I won't do it.
And she, for her age, she still looks great. Like she keeps herself in really good shape. And she came out early. Like we saw Vanna White early in the day. And
that's when you get the selfie in. That's when you do it real quick.
No, I didn't
Miss
have my
White,
phone out.
Miss White.
Was that the time when you said, "Damn it, I should have brought the art"? Was it Atari or you said Nintendo?
Have her sign it.
Have her sign that for you?
I should have. And it's funny because Xavier Woods, who's a wrestler, they had a celebrity week and he was on that celebrity week. He did that exact thing. He had his old NES cartridge. He brought it and had Pat Sajak and Vanna White sign it. So
that's awesome.
It was very cool. So
cool.
she shows up to the contestant preparation early in the morning and it's interesting because no makeup and her hair's pulled up, real relaxed clothes.
And that's when you said, "Who is this?"
Exactly. Well, and we're all masked because Wheel of Fortune, especially now.
Oh, they put a bag over your head and they take you to a location before you get there.
Exactly.
It's that secretive.
Sort of.
Throw you in a trunk.
The secret organization. Of the
I was trying to, in the trunk, I was trying to figure out which direction we were going. If I needed to escape.
Listening.
We've turned left twice. But no, we are still masked for COVID precautions, which they were saying they and Jeopardy were two shows that have never stopped for any COVID stoppage. And part of the reason is because they're so restrictive. And we had to get COVID tested the day before as well.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But she had a mask on, but then walked up to the microphone and took her mask off. And even when she took her mask off, we all were just kind of sitting there like, because the contestant coordinators were like, we have somebody who just wanted to pop in and say hi real quick. So she took off her mask and she said, "Hi guys, just wanted to tell you good luck for today. You're going to do great. These guys are going to prep you really well and make sure to buy your vowels."
And you guys over here like, "Oh, thank you.
As she's speaking and you're hearing her voice and you know, her hair is usually down and surprisingly her ears are kind of a little bit bigger. Like you don't notice that when her hair is down. But
that's why she wears them down.
We're like, "Oh, this is Vanna White." Like Vanna White's up there. And I was also sitting further back, but after she told us that, obviously we cheered for her and she went back. Didn't see Pat until they started filming the episodes. And I mean, it was again surreal just to see him out there and, you know, we all have our makeup on and whatnot, but then they're just out there doing the thing and to see it in person and especially from the perspective of standing in a contestant's spot instead of watching it on TV. It was, surreal. But very cool. And I think the other thing, Pat sometimes, you know, one of his shticks is he can be kind of snarky and give these comments here and there. But in between rounds, he's very encouraging and is reminding us like, hey, it's this round. Don't forget about this. And so he wants you to do well out there.
Yeah.
Also, so
I mean, he's meant to be entertaining, so he's gonna throw some jabs.
Exactly.
I wonder if he's done anything else than Wheel of Fortune. That's AJ. I wonder if he
was a weatherman in Chicago. I think
he was a weatherman.
That's what he did before Wheel of Fortune. I think he's a weatherman in Chicago.
Okay. Interesting. Wow. Yeah. Well, a little starstruck. Were you starstruck on the?
For Vanna White,
or you were just professional and.
Oh no. Well, and you know, Kansas City Star interviewed me, and this is one of the quotes they took from this. But after I won, you know, you get to kind of just have this conversation up there with Pat and Vanna. Okay. And I said like directly to her face, like, "Oh my God, I'm talking to Vanna White." And then as I was saying it, I was like, "That is such a stupid thing to say. Why did you say that?"
That's because earlier you said, "Say out loud what you're thinking," and that's exactly you took that to heart.
They told me
too well trained.
Exactly. No,
Pat, you're not as tall as I thought.
I'm pretty sure I was taller than him. But so for her, maybe a little bit, and maybe because you don't talk to her as much, but you know, Pat's more the conversationalist anyway. And so you kind of get used to talking to him a little bit more up there. So yeah. It's so starstruck to an extent, but I think so much of it's like, oh, this is a person who's just standing next to me. And so that's kind of how you have to consider it of like, yeah, this is just a person.
Yeah, of the shows, I think I'd be more starstruck if I met Drew Carey. And I'd be pretty
really?
Yeah. I love Drew Carey. Like I wasn't like I never got I like watch just because like he stopped doing it before I really got into it. But I love all the old Whose Line Is It Anywhere?
Whose Line Is It
Anyway? Anyway.
Yeah, those are hilarious.
Yeah, so Drew Carey, so that'd be a huge one. He's so hilarious.
Yeah, because he did The Price Is Right.
Mm-hmm. And the Drew Carey
Drew Carey show.
Whose Line?
Whose Line? Yeah, is it still going?
Yeah,
Whose
but
Line?
it's hosted by Aisha Tyler.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. But he's come out as a performer, no? Or
Well, sort of. He has a Las Vegas show he does with the Whose Line cast and all the other originals. So he still does that from time to time, but he mostly just Price is Right.
Yeah.
So that would have been cool to see him if he was just on the other side of the stage.
Yeah.
Just a guest experience. Now, do you remember what was the word that you won with? Do you remember?
In the bonus round?
Yeah.
Happy to hear that.
That was the
That was the phrase.
Happy
It was
to
a
hear
phrase.
that.
Yeah. And it's interesting because when you win the game, they give you 3 options of categories for the bonus round. And here's the other thing, because their puzzle board is digital now. And so
she doesn't have to go turn the signs anymore.
She just touches
Just
it.
touches
it's like a
it,
touch
yeah.
screen. But when it was my turn to choose, like it was just these 3 big options up there on the puzzle board of which one to choose. And my options were things, around the house, or phrase. And thing or things, even though it was plural,
Things is too broad. That's very broad.
way too broad. I was like, well, we're not doing that. And around the house,
I could do around the house. I think that would sound a little bit more easier than phrase.
Vacuum has 2 U's in it though, and that's a weird word, to choose like vacuum. But not that it would be that word, but
Right.
I just feel like around the house, there are some things around the house that are spelled strangely. So I went with phrase, and again, it was a situation where it's like, all right, make this decision in 3 seconds that could determine everything. So I went with phrase, and
the phrase again was
happy to hear that. So
never heard that. I mean, happy to hear that. I don't hear that.
Happy to hear that.
Happy to hear that.
You've never heard that?
I guess no one's happy for me. So.
Recently there was a show where the bonus phrase was like going out for a jaunt. And
A jaunt.
A jaunt. And it's funny because I was kind of playing at home and I was like, oh, it's going out for a jaunt. But the person never got that. The phrases can be ones that maybe you haven't heard before. And
Right.
that's always a possibility. Honestly, I got lucky in that my phrase had some more commonly used letters in it. But yeah, they wheeled out the puzzle, the bonus round wheel that you get to spin, which I was excited that I didn't get just get to spin the big wheel, but I got to spin the
bonus wheel too.
Bonus wheel as well. And then Pat told me before we started filming, he's like, these bonus rounds, they're kind of a crapshoot. You got to hope you get those letters that end up there. And sure enough, I did.
Thanks for the encouragement, Pat. I really needed that.
Well, he did mean it in an encouraging way. He's like, you made it this far. That's kind of winning in itself. And
said,
this
no,
next
Pat,
part
it's
is
not.
like, I'm competitive enough where that was kind of a thing. I was like, I want to do the best possible that I can. So
I'm not here to embarrass myself on national TV.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it my all.
Well, and then in the bonus round, like I made some national news, which, Wheel of Fortune does occasionally, but there were some national news, outlets that picked up on that I did something unique that no other contestant really has done.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah.
Winning the bonus round?
No. Do you know what I did before that? I said happy to hear that.
Okay. So,
let's talk through this.
Yeah. So I'm apologize. I didn't get to watch the whole episode, but
I didn't see you at my watch party.
I know. See, but I didn't know what was going on at the time. And what night? Let me see. Because Mario,
Wednesday
March
night.
8th.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we were here at the studio,
I knew about it. I work nights.
That's right, because we were here at the studio, and I remember Mario had said that he was going to go with some friends for this watch party, and at the time I was like, "Watch party? What's going on? What's Mr. Rose doing? Is he going to?"
Well, at first my interpretation was I thought the watch party was like they were going to watch you there. Like I thought, I was in my head, I was thinking almost like live.
And I was like, I don't even wear watches, so why would I go?
To a watch party.
Yeah. So I'm like, do I get to order a watch? A Rolex, maybe?
Special
It's like a Tupperware party.
Yeah.
Watches.
So we didn't get to watch. But then I went on to try to find the episode, and I think it said something that it hasn't been released by you or something like that.
Oh no, They tell us you can't put it out there on the internet because they own it, right? They own the episode, so they're like, don't post it. So
but we were able to watch how you won it, and the good part of the. So so you said something, and as soon as we saw the clip and you said something, a little message you said before you answered. Mm-hmm. First thing I thought was like, what if they would have buzzed you or something because you said this? So yeah, if you want, go ahead and elaborate on that. And
so, as part of contestant preparation, they tell you all the rules. Uh-huh. And I benefited from one of the rules earlier with the toss-up. So you talked about the timing. Like you have certain amounts of time to do different things. And one of the things with toss-ups is once you buzz in on a toss-up round, you have to say the answer immediately. So they do a triple toss-up. And Jenny had gotten one. It's sandwich shop. And they were all place was the category. And they're usually related in some way. And then Whitney buzzed in for the next one, but she didn't answer immediately. And so they buzzed her. But then after Pat was like, I'm sorry, we got to move on. Or they buzzed her, she said butcher shop. And I buzzed in and you feel bad immediately. Cause it's like, that's
she just
the answer.
Said it.
I know she just said it, but I'm going to get the $2,000 for it. Exactly. So I said butcher shop. And this is what I was alluding to earlier. The last one, then there was an MC, and then you knew the last word was going to be shop.
His name's Pat.
No. The letters M for the next word was like a 5-letter word, started with an M, ended in a C, and you knew the last word was going to be shop. So I buzzed in and I go music shop. Felt real good about it. I'm sorry, that's incorrect. And I was like, what? But then Whitney buzzed in on that one and she guessed magic shop, which was the correct answer.
And then you looked over and kind of gave her a wink like, I said, I threw you a softball.
There you go. Right. You got some there. But then with the bonus round, you get, you have 10 seconds. You have 10 seconds. And that's one of those where they say, if you don't know it, speak out loud, maybe it'll come to you. And there have been many contestants where they didn't know it immediately and kind of talked through it, and they end up getting it right in those last couple of seconds. Well, for me, I had everything except the Y and the O. So I knew what it was. As after I called the letters, they started coming up there, and I just had these like chills and this emotion come over me because I was like, oh my God, I'm going to win. Like there was no question.
Oh, I thought you were going to say, oh my God, I think I have COVID.
Pat would be like, you're out of here.
Alternate, come on in.
Exactly. Alternate gets to get all the money
for this word.
But I knew I knew it. And he was going on like, now I feel pretty good about this. You only have 10 seconds, not 11.
Yeah.
And when he said that, I was like, that's right. I do have 10 seconds. I can say whatever I want. And so I was like, what's something that I could say that's meaningful to me. So I just told my girls, I was like, Zion, Okalani, Shiloh, Daddy loves you.
Yeah, that's
Happy
cool.
to hear that. And so
now you just said chills down my spine just doing that. Just saying
man,
that. That's awesome.
I love my girls so much.
Yeah,
So to give them that they'll always have and they
yeah.
come back. I wonder if they'll add in like a Bradley rule now of like, you have to have it related to the puzzle. Cause people could say whatever in the future. But in that case, I had time. And he did. Pat was like, that was pretty sneaky.
Yeah.
And he said that exact thing. He's like, what if time would have run out in the middle of your greeting? Somebody said online too, had a comment like, good thing you didn't have any more kids. Time might have ran out. But no, so I did that. And again, the contestants have a screen up here that has the time ticking down and the numbers. So I knew how much. I still had 5 or 6 seconds left. I wish I would have said it slower at this point. Because some of the news organizations like didn't put my girls' names in there correctly. And I was like,
oh, really?
It's probably because I said it so quickly that the captioning on the video, spelled it incorrectly. But I don't care.
Yeah.
It was good. It was good. It worked out. It was awesome.
Yeah. That's why it's like you said their names. And I was, I thought, man, that's good that the buzzer didn't go off. Or nope, that's incorrect. And but you would have said, but you know what? I got my girl's name out there.
And that's another thing when you're solving other puzzles, you can't say anything except what's on the puzzle. So there have been people. There's a category called crossword where there are 4 words. So let's say it's blank shop, and they do a little crossword puzzle up there where it's like music and magic and sandwich and butcher, and those were all in the crossword. But there are people in the past who have gotten buzzed because they go sandwich, butcher, music, and magic,
but not shop.
No.
Oh,
they got buzzed because they said and. You have to just say the words up there.
Wow.
Also, yeah, I've seen that where pronunciation too is like if you say the word.
Exactly.
Ooh, I would never be able to do that.
when we were going through the rules, they're like, let's say it's song lyrics, and the song lyric is "Ain't nothing but a hound dog." Do not say "ain't nothing." If you say "ain't nothing but a hound dog," you will get buzzed and get it wrong. So you are briefed very thoroughly, and they do a great job of briefing you on the rules. And you know when you can say things and when you can't. So like on the final spin, after you guess a consonant, you have some time. You have 3 seconds to guess whatever you want to try and get the answer correctly. And here's another interesting rule. If you have started saying the answer and the buzzer goes off in the middle of the answer, you want to finish your answer because you're still right. As long as you've started saying it before the buzzer, you're good. So same situation with the bonus round. Like you get 10 seconds, and as long as you start before the buzzer sounds with the
So you can say the
response.
word even during the buzzer. The buzzer's going off, and if you're still continuing to
Let's
say
say
the word,
I didn't know the answer and I got happy to and buzzer sounds.
yeah,
If I finish and say hear that, I would get it right.
okay,
Yeah. So as long as you have started solving the puzzle before the buzzer sounds. And here's another one. Let's say you added the "and" you said something incorrectly. You can go back and restart saying the puzzle, but it's just once you've finished it, if you added anything in, it's wrong. But you could go back and restart. If you restart saying the answer to the puzzle, you can still get it right.
okay. Interesting. So it's kind of like a
You guys are going to be like pros on this. See, this is why you should apply. You're going to already know all the rules.
No, we're gonna go on Family Feud.
yeah, that's what we're thinking. Yeah, family, because that's another one where you can go, you can hit the buzzer, or the buzzer goes off and you continue your
He'll give you
Answer.
a chance. Steve Harvey gives you a chance, like afterwards, like to say something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The Garcias on Family Feud.
Yeah, we kill it. Chris. Because how many? It's five on the show.
Yeah.
Chris, would you do it or would Ileana do it?
I think I could do it.
You think you could do it?
I think I could.
I don't know, dude. You gotta have some personality out there. You gotta let the world know.
Our personality bounces off each other. That's how family works.
Yeah, but we can't argue like we usually do. We have to be a little bit more wholesome as a family.
You have to say good answer, good answer,
Good
even
answer.
though
It's up there.
not a good answer.
yeah.
Exactly.
That's when the family like sarcasm comes into play, where it's like good answer, and you don't really mean it. You can tell your family.
Yeah.
See, I think I'd have a tough time with I've been on TV before for like my commercials and everything, but like all that's like edited, like they do shots for shots. Like on TV show, I'd probably get it more like I'd let my emotions run a little too much. Like I get a word wrong, I'd be like just kind of like crap, god damn it. Just,
Yeah. I actually did a little bit of acting. So when Mario was, I'm going to say 2-3 years old, we had him in the modeling thing,
Yeah.
and we did a, what was it called? It was La Petite Academy,
Oh, okay.
like the daycare.
Yeah.
So back in the, 90s, mid 90s, that was the thing. I don't know if it's still out there, but, they actually used me as not a stand-in, but they saw Mario. The deal was that the kids are playing, and they're being filmed, and I had to take Mario and drop him off, and say bye to him, and then walk away from the camera. And it was really neat. Is I sat him down and I told him my goodbye, and he just stared at me, and as I walked away, he kind of looked at me, and then he followed. And they were like, perfect. That's what we needed right there, So I was cool. Yeah. So I made the VHS tape.
Nice.
Yeah. It's on the VHS. I think they said, oh yeah, this is not going to be out until another 6 months. So I think I went to every La Petite and I had to apply just to get me a video. So yeah, I got the video somewhere.
That's good.
But that was.
Then you have to find a VCR to play it.
I know, right? Yeah. Now we got to go find a VCR. Kind of like people nowadays are looking for record players because the LPs are starting to come out, the albums.
Yeah.
And
Did you see those just outnumbered CDs for sales?
no,
Vinyl.
really?
Yeah, they. Just
I believe
came
it
out
because
with
no one buys
statistics.
CDs.
No,
anymore.
nobody buys CDs anymore.
But people buy
so-
vinyls.
Yeah, so vinyl sales outsold CD sales
Really?
for the first time since whenever.
Yeah.
This past year.
Yeah, it's funny. I was just in Wait, where was I?
You in Wichita?
Oh yeah, I was just in Wichita last weekend.
Hey, how about that?
Yeah, and Ileana was in a volleyball tournament, and right next door to the gym, in the same vicinity, there was a flea market going on. So I walked in there, and I found an LP from 1973.
Nice.
You know, and I was like, "Ooh, I used to love this song." It's actually the song "Moonlight Feels Right" by Starbuck. I don't know if you remember that song. Yeah, and it's one of my favorite songs from the 70s, and I played it for these guys, and now when they hear it, they always remember the way I introduced it to. It's the one with the xylophone. And so I found that album and grabbed it. I showed it to the gentleman who was selling it, and he goes, "Oh, this was one of my first albums I bought in the 70s. So I'm glad somebody's going to take it." And he says, "There's only a one-hit wonder on this album." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm aware of it, and that's why I'm buying it." I don't paid $5 for it, so
Yeah,
why not?
awesome.
It was pretty cool. But we're coming to the end of our episode. But congratulations!
Thank you.
That is
Thank you.
such an awesome thing to do.
Yeah.
And you're.
It's all right. I feel like there is so much luck involved.
Yeah, you came home with your pockets nice and heavy.
Yeah. Well, this is the other,
let's
giving a little behind the scenes.
Yeah.
I don't have anything yet. I don't have anything. I have the,
Wait a minute, you didn't get
I
to
have the
drive.
memories.
You didn't get to drive the new car home.
Wouldn't that be fun? But no. And I'm not sure how that all works out. But you got to wait for your prizes. It'll probably be summertime before I see.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Good way to start summer then.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
It'll be a fun summer.
Can you tell us what you won?
Oh yeah,
for the people who
that's-
haven't watched it.
That's all in the public. So I won $9,600. I won a Chevy Traverse, which is what I won in the bonus round.
Okay.
And it's worth about $41,000. And then I won a 7-night trip to the Bahamas.
Nice. For two?
Yeah.
Oh, mom's
I'm
going
not
to
going
be
alone.
well, excuse me, but I guess mom's going to keep the girls for a while, right?
I'm hoping so. Well, and it's funny because my parents came to the watch party, and it was a weird experience because I knew what was going to happen, but to have like a room full of, we probably had 80 people in this room.
Oh, so they
50 to 80
didn't
people.
know you won.
Yeah.
No,
That's
Nobody-
even more crazy.
Yeah, let me tell you.
So that
the watch
actually,
party was crazy because again, I was the only one. Well, myself and Victoria were the only ones who knew. Not even my parents. I didn't tell my parents what happened either. So they came up for the watch party. And when they saw that I won the prize puzzle, which is the one where they give away a trip if you get that puzzle correct, I was like, "Hey, so this summer you got about a week. You want to hang out with the girls while we're in the Bahamas?"
Oh, man.
So, but the watch party,
they're
was-
all
it was
sitting
weird
there
'cause
they're like just slowly like, oh,
yeah,
he's doing
well,
good.
they're watching, and I get the very first two toss-ups correct, right? And to hear them like cheer for that, and then I don't get the next two puzzles, and I feel bad because again, I spent the whole day with
they're yelling
Jenny
at the
and Whitney
TV like,
and-
"What are you doing?"
Yeah, well, or they're like booing the other
behind.
contestants, and I'm like, no, they're nice, I swear. And I also knew what was coming, and so then to see their reactions was just a lot of fun because I was just standing there watching them watch in a lot of ways. Although it was the first time I saw the episode too, so
You should have done some fourth wall breaking. You should be like, "Hey, Brad. Yeah, Brad. Ready for this?" And then,
oh man. The only people who would have appreciated that were the people there, but
Exactly.
that would have been priceless. So.
that's crazy.
good stuff.
So
how were you able to keep this a secret for, what was it, 3 months? What?
Yeah, it
You
was
know?
3 months or just about 3 months.
Yeah.
And again, I told you the timeline for applying to getting on the show.
Yeah.
That was faster. That from when I applied to
get
actually
on.
filming the show was a whirlwind. And then the time in between the filming to the actual like release of the episode, it felt like forever. And again, you start to like question, like, did that happen? Was that like a fever dream or something? Like, but then as it got closer, came out, like I knew it, like, oh, this is Wheel of Fortune week. And, I'm watching Monday's episode because again, those are contestants I hung out with all day.
Yeah.
And I had seen their episodes get filmed and so knew what was going to happen there. So it was cool to see how they did and see how that looked on TV. But then I was like, oh man, mine's on Wednesday. And sure enough,
So you knew when it was coming. Yeah, so yeah, man, I didn't know that. I wish I would have watched.
Well, and I couldn't. I also had to wait to release like when it was. I think they do that because they want to kind of build some excitement, but they make you wait until they send you your picture. Like they took a picture there, and they make you wait until they send you the picture for you to be able to post that you were on Wheel of Fortune. And so that's when I finally could post that. That was about a week and a half before. Here's another fun fact. So after I finished filming the episode, the photographer of that picture came up to me. She's like, and I had been talking about Kansas City, Kansas the whole time I was there, but she was like, "Hey, I grew up in Wichita." I was like, "I grew up in Wichita."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Hey, where'd you graduate from?" And she's like, "Wichita North." I was like, "I graduated from Wichita North." And then I asked her what year she graduated because my dad also graduated from Wichita North in 1970.
Was she an older lady?
Yeah, she was older.
Okay.
She was older.
I don't know if you're about to tell me I was just 2 years above you.
We went to high school together.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but she would have been in high school at the same time as my dad because she graduated in 71. So
Wow.
it was crazy. We were trying to make those connections because it wasn't just my dad, but he has some brothers who went there too. So, but she's like, "All right, well, I'll talk to you more about this at lunch." And in my days, I was like, "Oh, okay." But then I had to go back to the back to sign some paperwork. Man. And then, that was it. Like they'd take a break after the third episode and I left because Victoria was waiting for me with the car across the street. So I had to like go out there and so I never saw the contestants. I never saw that lady again. It's kind of like a weird whiplash feeling because I had spent all this intense time together with everybody and all the other contestants. Like we were cheering each other on the whole time. And I was the first bonus round win. So when I walked back by the contestant seating area, which is in the audience, they all were like cheering for me. And I was like,
cool.
Yeah.
You know, not to get off topic real quick or like right towards the end, but this just totally crossed my mind. So your dad then, so does he remember like the Wichita killer? The
BTK?
Yeah.
Oh, BTK. Absolutely. I remember BTK. BTK.
When what? That was what? 1970 something?
Yeah, but he wasn't caught until 2004.
Really?
2004, 2005. And he was like city something for Park City. And my grandparents lived in Park City. So like there was a time that he came up to my grandparents' house to like BTK came up to my grandparents' house talking about like where the grass was or keeping animals in or something.
Wow.
So everybody kind of has like a BTK connection in some way.
Crazy.
I went to church with a guy who's married to BTK's daughter.
Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah. So I grew up in a church where he ended up marrying his daughter. So
Jeez.
If you're from Wichita, again, it's big, but it's small enough that people kind of have those
there's the generation is still there that they remember.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
See, that's why I think small town. That's why I just think of Wichita as kind of like this kind of enclosed. Like I really don't think of it as a city or just too big. Cause I mean like depictions I have, it's just, I was always on the outskirts for just that. And those kind of memories of that, like, oh man, crazy. Crazy.
It's a cool place.
Crazy how Wichita I was just in Wichita. It's just crazy.
So does your dad also remember the plane crash that had happened for the football?
Oh yeah.
team?
So, okay, here's my connection to that.
Okay.
One of my assistant principals at Wichita North was on that plane.
Oh.
He was a WSU football player. He was on the plane that crashed, but he was one of the survivors.
It was like what, like 6 survivors or something?
Not very many, but yeah. And he always did this like bike ride in
Memoriam?
honor of them as a memorial to them. So if you look up like the WSU football bike ride, his name would come up. I forget his name right now, but yeah. So I mean, he was one of my assistant principals. I want to say his name was like Richard something, but
Wow.
A lot of history in Wichita there.
yeah.
Way to add to it. Way to add as another famous alum of Wichita.
You know,
Yeah.
I was in Wichita for some spring break stuff, and nobody recognized me. So I would not consider myself a famous.
And you go back to the high school and just tell them, hey, put me in the Hall of Fame. I was on the Wheel of Fortune. That's got to be worth something.
That's what I said
Put
earlier.
my,
Yep.
put my
They're
picture
gonna
up there of like winning.
It's going to happen, or we're going to try to make it happen.
I'll
Through this
send
podcast,
I'll
we'll do
send
it.
them the picture and just see what they do with it. Like, hey, I'm a graduate.
Yeah,
you go,
they
yeah.
need to write in
In a glass case somewhere.
Oh, yeah. It's going to happen. Guaranteed.
But
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely.
This is awesome. I'm glad you're able to come in. So before we end, I'm going to go ahead and ask you, what would you rather's?
Oh, okay.
Okay, so
Would you rather?
yeah, what would you rather have a time machine or a teleporter? Just some fun things to think about.
Time machine forward and backwards?
How it's a time machine, whatever. Forward, and we'll say for a day.
Forward a day?
For one day.
Oh, for
one
day.
Yeah, a time machine.
Time machine or a teleporter? I would probably pick time machine.
Yeah, technically that's a huge loophole if it's for a day because you could keep going back to the beginning of that day.
It'd be like Groundhog Day.
This is like one of those you see any time travel movie has some like loophole. Like, wait a second, but if this, and even like teleporter, like, am I just transporting to where I am in that day? Because like, don't want to go back to.
Can you only teleport as far as you can see?
Because like, if I'm in the time machine, can I take the time machine to like New York in the 1800s and see what that's like?
Whatever you want to do. That's just,
then time machine. Yeah,
definitely, right?
Time machine for sure.
Speak in rhyme or speak in riddle for a year?
Riddle.
What?
like the Riddler.
Well,
I think that'd be more annoying to other people than rhyming.
Oh, rhyme is annoying. I mean, it's bad for me to say that because I'm an English teacher. But, you know, that's the reason why they don't use, if you rhyme too much, you start to become like a greeting card.
Or a rapper. You could become.
Well, rappers do some riddles too. Like,
right.
Ooh, if it's like Lin-Manuel Miranda rhymes where it's got a lot of like internal rhymes and end rhymes, like I'm maybe rhyme then because that you could be pretty clever. Like, do I have to like think of the rhyme to be able to speak, or am it? Do my
it's
words
just no. It's just the way you.
I just feel like
just the way we're speaking here.
Like a rhyme is more direct versus a riddle. You kind of turn.
Here's
to a
the
dick.
problem. I already feel like I speak in riddles sometimes. You should see the way students. Never mind. You were one of my students. So sometimes I'll say something and they just kind of look at me and I'm like, "What? There was nothing that I said that should be that confusing." But yet
it's like
you're looking at me.
You know, your wife. Have you seen my keys? Have I seen your keys? I don't know. Were they here? Were they there? Go find. Like, you know, like, you don't gotta be a dick about it. Just tell me where my keys were.
But I don't know. With the rhyme thing, I feel like people would also feel like,
either way,
are you mocking me?
Either way,
what is this rhyme
Either way,
for?
you're gonna get annoying.
Exactly. It'd be a year of silence, regardless.
So, be famous in real life or in the internet, because you may be going through this path right now.
What's like internet famous? What do you mean by that?
It went viral.
Yeah.
Oh,
just by going viral in
real life.
Real life.
You don't want to be. There's a lot of like bad internet famous.
Right.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Well, and even
so if you would have lost, then that probably would have been bad internet famous.
Well, already
you're very close to becoming meme worthy.
Like I said, with the international gate line. Again, I didn't say that, but I also didn't solve the puzzle, so people were confused and thought I was maybe not the smartest of players. But there were already and me making the comments. There were people that were like, he should have gotten that wrong, blah blah blah, and
right.
I'm like,
yeah.
But you're very close to becoming a meme for your own students. You know, them just getting your picture and then
I know that will already happen. That will already happen. Future years think they're clever and be like, it's like when every year they come in and make the bald jokes. It's like, you think you're original for this? No.
I've been hearing since I was 20.
Exactly. Since 24.
Right. The next one, be able to control animals through your mind or able to see the future?
See the future. Well, that might be scary. My thought is like see the future and I'll just get the lottery numbers and
go back to Biff, right? Isn't that what Biff did?
That is what Biff did. He got the sports book.
The
went back and
sports
bet on all
almanac.
So
able to read minds or move objects with your mind. So able to read or able to move.
That's another one that's kind of scary. Like if you can read minds, you might be scared of what you what you find
the
out.
inner thoughts of someone you knew closely.
Yeah, like you think that. So I'm actually going to say move objects with that one.
Yeah, I think I would too.
I think it's good for people to be able to have their thoughts and not have them out there.
Have you ever tried to move something with your mind?
Hasn't everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I thought I was the
Some
only one.
telekinesis, like
Right.
you see it on a show, and like maybe I can, maybe I have this power, especially as a kid. Like,
I guess you
Trying to
need
use
the force.
Yeah.
or the Schwartz.
The
Or the
Schwartz.
All right. Yep. All right. Again, thank you so much, Mr. Rose, for joining
Well,
us.
thank you for having me. This was fun. I'm
again-
sorry if I was kind of scattered all
No,
over.
please.
that's
This
great.
is what we wanted.
great.
We want the people out there to know what you accomplished. I mean, you've accomplished a lot in your life, but to be a contestant on Price is Right.
You can put that on your resume.
I guess
No,
you
no,
do.
Worlds of Fun.
Yeah, Worlds of Fun. Yeah, but
Come see me at Worlds of Fun this summer. I'll be there, right in the Zambezi Zinger.
There you go. Yeah, that's quick. Nice. All right, thank you, Chris. We good?
We are.
Nice, Mark. Thank you so much,
Yep.
Mr. Rose. Thank you so much again,
Thank you for having me. This is good.
ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to the Big Modcast. Until then, adios.